coming. I'm Amelia Tomasicchio. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Cryptonomist, which is a media. It's in English, of course, French, and we are translated in like 15 languages. So I hope you will check the website. And I'm very happy to moderate this panel because I hope we will inspire some people to find a solution for a major adoption of Web3. So I will ask you to briefly introduce yourself. Do you have? Okay.
How do I turn this on? Is it on? Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Solana. I am a partnerships and growth manager at Accurist, and I'm really excited to be here today. Accurist is a decentralized network that connects thousands of smartphones, or even your smartphone that's sitting in your pocket right now, into a secure, private, and powerful way to run apps in an affordable way and keep your data private.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I'm so excited to be here on this all-girl panel. Super
Doesn't
rare.
happen very often, right?
And it's awesome when it happens like this. Usually there's one of us on the whole panel, and now we're all here together. So I hope you're excited as I am. I'm Haley Cromer. I'm the Developer Relations and Blockchain Evangelist for CrossFi, soon to be head of ecosystem. And we are a layer 1 blockchain, our own proprietary chain, but more importantly, we are a bridge between TradFi and DeFi, aiming to be the first decentralized Web3 bank or an Apple Pay for crypto, where you can connect to our app and make non-custodial payments using our Visa and MasterCards. So crypto to fiat, fiat to crypto in real time. Super excited to be here and talk more about what we're doing around decentralized infrastructure.
Hi everyone, I'm Chloe Phung and I'm co-founder and CEO of YouTube Network. We are modular layer 1 that focus on the PIN ecosystem, and we leverage on subnet technology as a scalability solutions to support on real-world application adoption. So I'm happy to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. So my first question will be about the challenges. What are the problems? What can we fix in the space to have a measured adoption of a Web3 solution?
Okay, so I will take the question first then. So within the Web3 space, I see like challenge is lying in different layer. It can be the first layer within the layer 1s, and the second is the app layer or protocol layer. So since I'm doing now a layer 1, I can like address the challenge that we are facing. So the first challenge that layer 1 network is facing right now is the scalability, right? So we often talk about how a network can handle a high volume transaction, but at a low cost, not at a high cost, right? Like Ethereum. So whenever the network getting busy, one transaction we make is cost us like a half of what is the value we transfer. So the second one is the user accessibility, and also like how we can make the whole network more user friendly. And the third one is actually like interoperability. How on the other network or how different layers within a network can connect to each other, can communicate, can transfer the asset value or transfer the data. So if we can solve those challenges within the layer 1s, I think it can be the fundamental of the whole blockchain development. Thank you.
Of course, I definitely second you, Chloe, when it comes to scalability in terms of transaction processing speed. How can we do this in an efficient way that is low cost, still has the same speed? I think being that also CrossFi is another modular chain, we try to build it into the infrastructure to be able to handle that, so that layers are taken part of in the same time rather than getting so congested. Also, kind of the hybrid consensus model that we use helps this too, but it's still always an underlying issue, especially, you know, in our case being a project that is aiming to bridge TradFi and DeFi, and we're connecting to the financial sector. When people are using these cards to make payments, how are we going to do it in a way that is fast and cheap? It's not really possible unless you become more centralized, which is what we're trying to stray away from. So I think that's a huge issue when it comes to scalability. Of course, on the developer side, when it comes to building decentralized applications, we have an issue of the, you know, user experience and the UI, the infrastructure. We're still so far away from mass adoption when it comes to how normal people are accessing these dApps and being able to, you know, use them. So for example, with like our SDKs, if we're using Web3 Auth or Alchemy SDKs, they have to go and manually input our chain and our token, being that we're a newer L1, which is super difficult for somebody that hasn't been there in Web3. So we're combating this by trying to make our own application, but at the same time, we want, you know, our builders on our chain to be able to build things that the common day person can utilize. And I think last but not least, in terms of what's a huge issue for us is, of course, interoperability. How are we going to be able to, you know, have like this cross-chain functionality going forward? How is everybody going to be able to work together so that blockchains can communicate seamlessly, share liquidity from one to another? Still things that need to be sorted out within, you know, the larger Web3 ecosystem.
So if you think about the infrastructure of the internet nowadays, if I go to a website, I have to click and go through a server, which is probably owned by Amazon or Google or another big company that's been around for 30 years. And well, we own a lot to them for building all of that for us. But the issue is if Jeff Bezos wakes up tomorrow and says, hey you, I'm not gonna do business with you. You cannot have a server. You cannot get online. Everything's down. You have to look for alternatives. And which is why I think Deepin is so important. And at Accurist, we allow people to be their own servers and to be a little puzzle piece that comes together. And we do have around 35,000 phones around the globe right now. So if my phone is down, your phone is on. So there's no big servers that are down all the time. I think the biggest challenge right now is that not a lot of people know what Deepin is. Do you know what Deepin is? I did not know what Deepin was 6 months ago. So I think what we could all focus on is to educate ourselves. And when there is something so new like Deepin, it can be hard to trust that it can actually bring value to us. So I hope you guys learn more about Deepin today and can share this with your friends. And yeah, excited to learn more.
So yeah, we mentioned a lot of challenges, but we are here in this panel to talk about the solutions. So I'm very curious to know how your companies are addressing this kind of challenges. So we are, what about decentralization, the UX, and so on? So what do you think is the solution now?
So as I've mentioned earlier, the big tech, Amazons and Googles of the world, what we do at Accurist is we allow each one of you to just take your phone out of your pocket, download our app in 3 minutes, and then be a part of the decentralized infrastructure. If you think about it, there's billions and zillions of phones all around the world, and if each of us can connect to Accurist, we can actually create a decentralized infrastructure, and then nobody has to rely on Amazon or Google or be scared about your privacy or your data or the narratives that the big companies are pushing. And the best part, you can actually earn money through this and earn rewards just by connecting your phone, which takes you 3 minutes. If you have some old phones laying around, you can put them to use as well. So your phones are more powerful than you can imagine.
So for us, being that we're a layer 1 ecosystem. We also are bringing on, L2s onto our chain, ZK rollups, our dApps that can be, AI agents, on-chain agents. So there's a lot of ways that we're going to, expand to solve these problems. Of course, relying on people that are building on top of the CrossFi layer to solve these issues for us, as well as what we're doing internally to expand this. Example would be, with our native token, creating Zaps to be more omni-chain friendly, working directly with businesses for partnerships so that we can solve the UI dependencies on their end as well as our own. Additionally, I think when it comes to the compliance issue, of course, we're working directly with Visa and MasterCard to do everything the right way so that, we have this safe space between too much compliance and not enough compliance, where we're not operating in, of course, a safe and legal manner. And it gets incredibly complicated in the crypto space right now, being that each region is so different in what legislation is. But I think all we can do is we can make sure that we're, opting for KYC, for AML, relying on L2 solutions, trying to be as cross-chain and interoperable as possible, creating in-house solutions to be able to, host our token on multiple blockchains, also being able to communicate with as many blockchains as possible, and then bringing on new novel solutions, ZK rollups, other types of L2s and scalabilities, on-chain agents, regular AI agents to kind of mitigate the situation and push us in the right direction.
Cool. So for the previous questions, when I mentioned about the challenge right now we're facing within the layer 1, so since we are operate layer 1, I will continue with the solution that we put on the table for the whole industry. So for the three challenges which I mentioned before, in my opinion, the first one, which is the scalability, is the most crucial one. So as usual network, how we solve that problem? So instead of traditional blockchain monolithic, we choose to base on the modular base, right? So for the lecture one, we instead of traditional blockchain data structure, we use DAG base chain with a perfect fit for the microenvironments, for the environment that require microtransaction or high transaction. And at the same time, instead of putting every mission of a network, for example, data transaction, data availability, and transaction verify in one layer, we separate it into 2 layers. For the layer 1, we put it as a data availability layer and also consensus layer. And for the scalability layer, we use the subnet technology as the transaction execution layer. So all the transaction will be executed within the subnet. And the final result will send to the mainnet within the layer 1, where playing at the data availability, similar like Ethereum or the layer 2 solution. So that is our approach with the scalability. And how about the user accessibility and also the convenience of user, right? So as you may have to research on about DPIN. So when user want to contribute resource into the DPIN and earn the incentive reward, for example, right now we have 177 DPIN application on CoinMarketCap, on CoinGecko. So do I, as the user, I need to download 177 applications to contribute? No, I will never do that. I download 10 applications and then I'm stopped, right? So how about the application from the 11 to the 177? How do they scale? How do they gain their resource, right? So usually we see that problem for builder, for user. We try to solve that fragmented problem by building a DPIN marketplace on top of our DPIN subnet. So allow user with your computer, with your phone, you can contribute different resources into that client hub. And when DPIN project, they want to get those resources, they just need to integrate their client into our hub. So users just need to download one app within the PIN client hub that is built by us. And builder will also need to just plug in their client to get the resource. So that is what we try to solve as well with the fragmented problem we see nowadays within the DPIN space based on our technology as a layer one. Thank you.
Thank you for mentioning about incentives because it's actually my next question. So how do you think we can design better incentives to attract more users? Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so for my opinion, I think a healthy incentive mechanism is a backbone of Web3 and also for DPIN, right? So without a proper incentive mechanism, we're facing a low node participations, weak security, and also centralization risk. So nowadays we see like some organizations already apply a better solution for incentive. For example, the latest mechanism of Ethereum with a dynamic mechanism. So the rewards will be changed or will be adjusted based on the network conditions, whether it's like busy or whether it's not busy, but it's gonna be like adjusted. The second one is also based on the sustainable or reward the one who care about the long-term gain instead of the short-term gain. And at UTU, we also see the problem with the current incentive model within the DPIN. So as I mentioned before, we focus on DPIN and how we can leverage the power of the community within the Web3 space. So we already set out 10% of the total supply of YouTube token to reward those who want to support us in verify a transaction within the DPIN subnet, and at the same time who want to contribute and also make YouTube become more decentralized. So those rewards will be gradually distributed by many years, and each year those rewards will be decreased to increase the sustainability of the network and also to encourage the early participant in the whole network. So that is our solutions.
Sure, so kind of a loaded question starting, of course, at the core of our layer one blockchain. We have all kinds of incentives that we do. We do incentives for node validators, for stakers of our staking token, for builders through our DApp program, through our hackathons, ambassador programs, and then we also have specific rewards for our users in terms of the cards, like cashback rewards. So it's very different depending on where they are. And the DPIN L2s themselves are part of that we're connected to. For example, we'll connect to different networks like Akash, and there we'll actually partner with cloud providers that will then give incentives that way, or we can host people to have their own infrastructures and give incentives to them for providing that on our chain. So it really depends on what kind of part of our ecosystem you are, whether you're a builder, a validator, hosting an infrastructure, hosting a project, being an ambassador, doing in real life events. So there's so many different kind of incentive structures. Some work, some don't, in terms of things like the grant program, which I've led from its inception. Of course, our early adopters can see really high rewards in terms of grants, and then it gets to the point where it is, especially coming from testnet to mainnet, where now the infrastructure that we have is so much easier to build on. Now that we launched the EVM, where now you see these grant sites go down a lot, and of course it's just because our infrastructure now isn't as difficult as it once was. So there's a lot of different things that always have to be mitigated. Also, of course, you can see that this project being newer in terms of like our grant program, I'm the one who primarily led it. This isn't an on-chain. We don't have a multi-sig wallet till the point that was only until a few months ago. So this process has been, relatively centralized, you could say. So then how do we bring this on chain? How do we create a process where all of our infrastructure, all of our builders that are falling under our foundation, which is the nonprofit portion where they receive these incentives, can do it in a way that is decentralized. They can go through the process. They can gain, expert tags via NFTs, or for going through courses, or for partaking in certain campaigns that we do, whether it be the hackathon or preparing a DApp from scratch, or being an ambassador. And then how do we gamify it in a way where then they can grow within our ecosystem, become part of a DAO, have voting rights. So all of this infrastructure is built slowly but surely. I think that sometimes it's really too early for you guys to just come up with a DAO out of thin air. You have to have the community, you have to have the builders, you have to have the backing, which is why it's so common even in, regular IoT companies, that early investors or early adopters or founder members are receiving a lot higher rewards than somebody that comes in later once that foundation layer has been built. But I think that we continue to adopt these incentives to be able to, adhere to all the different types of people that make up our larger community and our ecosystem, so that there's a place for everyone within our project, whether you're a developer, a marketer, a user, to receive some kind of incentive for using it, which is why also within the cards themselves, people can get their cash back as well.
So I think the biggest incentive in the deepened space is the fact that you don't actually have to buy crypto, you can just earn it by dedicating your device. It's a mobile phone at Accurist, at other devices in other projects. So I think we are, as humans, we care most about safety, shelter, money. And we are in Paris right now, so we are really privileged not to think about that much. But if you're in other parts of the world where it's really hard to come by, and you do have a phone, and you can connect it, that's the only incentive you need, because that's going to make your life from horrible to bad, and that's already enough, I think. Sustainability is also a very big thing for Accurist. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is earning your crypto instead of buying it.
And your companies are based in different countries, so I'm curious about the regulation. That would be for sure a concern, especially recently, where governments are more trying to regulate crypto space. So I'm curious, how are you addressing these problems?
So Accurist is based in Switzerland, and regarding regulations, I'm probably not the best person to ask. We do not know what's going to happen. I don't think any of us know what's going to be ahead. What I do know is people want to make money easily. People want to make money on crypto in a private way. They don't want their data to be leaked, and that's what Accurist offers. So I think we should just push forward all of our solutions, and that's all we can do.
I could be here all day talking about this, but no, it's really a nightmare.
We don't have the world.
Yeah, no, it is a nightmare, because in terms of being a global project, our project is based in Dubai. We have, of course, registration in different countries, and then now we open an office in Hong Kong. We're opening new offices around the world, and realistically, when you're working to work directly, in our case, with the card providers to provide this, bridge from TradDai to DeFi as the first decentralized bank, if you will, you have to go through different regulations per region and work directly with the BIN sponsors to get the license in that region, then operate in that region. It's like a 6-month process for each. And then sometimes those regions take over other regions and then they come back. So whether they're independent or not is based on, I don't know whose mood, but not mine. So it's really a matter of becoming like a glorified librarian at this point, and having all this paperwork and information. Things move so quickly. All you can really do is, get your AML, compliance, get the KYC compliance done, and everything that you can do to try to move in the right way. If there's if you have a big community or you're trying to reach into a new market, doing everything you can to work directly with regulators and in our case, of course, the financial institutions that operate there and do it in a way that's legal, and then just be prepared for things to pivot almost daily and lose your mind a million times in a row, because that's really what is going on. And I hope there's a better solution soon, because it's a headache, but all we can do right now is hope for things to settle and for the climate to go in a better direction and become international relations experts in the meantime.
So I based in Asia, and specific Vietnam country. So I start join industry since 2016, and at that time, like as I remember, everyone was in the industry at that time. When we talk about regulations, we see something is like, oh no, it's gonna be a roadblock for the whole industry, right? But we see after years, government start come in, they pay more attention into how to protect the consumer in the industry, also how to do a better tax compliance. So for myself, I think it's not really a bad sign at all. It's actually clarity, and also something is good to happen within the industry. So for example, in Vietnam, the government start realize that if we don't put out the sandbox license for builder or for founder or for entrepreneur in Vietnam, we may stay behind other country in the Web3 space. So for example, Axie Infinity is the top gamify in the whole world. That come from Vietnam, right? But we didn't get much support from the government. So the government see Vietnam has a lot of talents in the Web3 space. So how we can support? So I'm happy to share that the government also commit that in 2025, we're gonna launch the first sandbox license for the Web3 space. Maybe it's gonna be a centralized exchange sandbox license, or maybe it's gonna be a layer 1 license or something like that. But the government now start really care about that, to protect the consumer, to support entrepreneur in the space, and also to support the development of the whole space.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, our time is over. But if you have any question, I'm sure the panelists will reply to you after this panel.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
For listening.